On this 3-day trip, I'm going to show you how I plan my layovers, who I'm watching on YouTube these days, and we're going snorkeling in between two tectonic plates. Today, we're jumping into the ice-cold waters of Iceland. You ready? Let's go.
My name's Paul. I fly airplanes for a living, but my passion is encouraging you to explore this beautiful world by giving you a glimpse into my layover life. Good morning. I've been seeing a lot of comments lately asking how I decide which airline I'm going to take back and forth to work from Minneapolis to Newark. It really kind of depends on the flight times and the load availability. Today, for example, the United flight has 50 open seats. I've been taking Sun Country a lot because their flights have been open, whereas the United flights have been full. And also, the Sun Country flights leave from Terminal 2 in Minneapolis, which is where I park my car. But the United flights leave from Terminal 1, so that adds probably 25 minutes getting from Terminal 2 to Terminal 1. So it's been kind of nice to take Sun Country because their flights have been open and I don't have to take the train to the other terminal. But today, United flight is wide open, and for my flight home, I'll probably take United. My flight this trip is scheduled to arrive at 1 p.m. in Newark, and there's a 2 p.m. flight home on United. Otherwise, there's a 3 p.m. flight on Delta. I haven't checked the loads on that one. There's a way I check the loads, and it's through an app called Staff Traveler. This isn't sponsored at all, but I use Staff Traveler all the time. It's basically an app where you can check loads on another airline, loads or seat availability. So today I checked loads for the Sun Country flight, and there was like 13 seats available, whereas the United flight had 50 seats available. But it's kind of a nice way to be able to check loads. So I can check loads in other airlines, and other airlines can check loads on United. And it's just answered by employees, so I go into the app. If I want to answer loads for whatever flights, then I answer that. I get 1 credit, and if I ask loads from Sun Country or Delta or American or whoever, then I lose a credit, and you can buy credits. And anyway, it's not sponsored, but like I said, it's a great app if you commute or just do a lot of non-revenue standby travel. So today we're headed to Iceland, and it's gonna be a good day. Let's go. Like I said, the United flight to Newark had plenty of open seats. So after the train ride to Terminal 1, it didn't take long before I received a seat assignment. If you've been watching for a while, you probably already know I enjoy watching Kara and Nate on YouTube. But I thought it'd be fun to show you some of my other favorite YouTubers. Before we take off, the first one I'd like to introduce you to is a family from Colorado called Fernweh Chronicles. They travel the world with their kids, and let me tell you, their videos are cinematic masterpieces. In case you missed it, United announced that free Starlink Wi-Fi is coming to all the airplanes soon, so I'll be able to watch YouTube up in the air. Until then, after a quick nap, we had arrived in Newark. Before we head to Iceland though, let's head to the United Club and I'll show you 2 of my other favorite YouTubers. There's a guy named Preston Goes who I've really come to love. His videos are super creative, really funny, and somehow I always feel like I'm on the verge of tears by the end. Even in this video where he drove a car off a cliff in Alaska. Preston, if you're watching this, let's go get into some mischief. Ironically, the day I recorded this, another YouTuber I enjoy called Camden David put out a video on Iceland. He lives a really unique lifestyle in which he moves to a new country almost on a monthly basis, and then tells you the pros and cons of each place. So, it's like a local's guide to a bunch of different cities. He's really a great resource if you're planning a trip somewhere. Now that I was caught up on my favorite YouTubers, it was time for a nap. I had a big day planned in Iceland, so getting a long nap in our crew lounge would be essential. These 3-day trips are kind of a series of a lot of naps. I take a nap on the plane to Newark. I take a nap when I get to Newark. If we have 3 pilots, I get a nap on the plane to Europe. And then I take a nap when I get to the layover. You get the idea. But because Iceland is a relatively short flight, we only had 2 pilots, which meant no nap during the flight. So before I met the first officer, I made the most important stop of the day. And with coffee in hand, it was out to the airplane to brief the flight attendants before pushing back for Reykjavik, Iceland.
You're not getting any royalties. Yeah. So 5 hours and 10 minutes.
The flight attendant briefing covers the major items affecting the flight, like flight time, potential turbulence, anything that might not be working, like ovens or coffee makers, but it's also a way to connect with the crew and set the tone for the flight. If I have something fun planned on the layover, this is usually when I tell the crew about it to see if anyone else is interested in going. With the briefing finished and our pre-flight complete, they closed the cabin door and we were off.
Ladies and gentlemen, your captain speaking. Like to welcome you aboard United Flight 138, service now to Reykjavik, Iceland. We'll be pushing back here very shortly. Once we're en route tonight, should be a very nice night for flying, mostly smooth all the way there. Once we're arriving, clear skies, temperature of 3 degrees centigrade, which is 38 degrees Fahrenheit. If there's anything we can do to make your flight more enjoyable tonight, please don't hesitate to ask. From all of us at United, welcome on board. Enjoy your flight. Good night.
In about 1 hour and 40 minutes, we are getting picked up for an adventure. But before we do that, I wanted to show you 3 ways that I plan my layovers. The first one is a website called Atlas Obscura. Atlas Obscura comes up with some pretty wild suggestions sometimes, but it's a good starting point for finding an adventure, especially if you're looking for something totally off the beaten path. The second website I use is Airbnb. Airbnb Experiences is a much more personalized way to go on a tour, from food tours to cooking classes to photo shoots. It's a much more personalized experience, especially if you're one-on-one or with a small group, and it's just a way to dive into local culture. The last and probably my most frequent used resource is Instagram. Not just searching the city, but sometimes finding a local content creator who lives in the city, because oftentimes they'll have travel guides. For example, in Iceland, there's a guy named Gunnar and a girl named Ása. They both have wonderful Instagram accounts, but they also have their own travel guides. They have interactive maps, interactive photos, and they can really help you narrow down what you want to do on the layover. Today, the first officer and I are doing something that's recommended by not only Gunnar and Ása, but also Airbnb Experiences and Atlas Obscura. Today, we're going snorkeling in the Silfra Fissure. About a 1 hour's drive north of Reykjavik is the Silfra Fissure. Located in Thingvellir National Park, the Silfra Fissure is an actual crack between the North American and Eurasian continents. And if you don't mind cold water, you can snorkel between the tectonic plates. But before you jump into this crack in the earth, you have to don a dry suit because the water is 2 degrees Celsius. When it comes to putting on a dry suit, it's helpful to have a friend, because it feels like what I would imagine astronauts must feel like before they make a spacewalk. After we got suited up, we had a quick briefing on what to expect and finally made our way across what looked like a moonscape toward the only place in the world where you can swim between 2 continents. For some reason, I gave the crowd this weird salute before I stepped off the platform. Maybe because I felt like I was stepping into another world, and honestly, that's kind of what it felt like. Said to be the clearest water in the world, the visibility has been measured at over 100 meters. The water is clear because it melts off of a glacier and is filtered through 50 kilometers of underground lava rock for 30 to 100 years before it wells up from a spring and directly into the Silfra crack. After about 5 minutes, your face goes numb from the nearly freezing water, but the rest of your body is relatively warm, and more importantly, completely dry. As the current pushes you over the rocks, it feels less like swimming and more like flying, effortlessly overhead a magical new world. Like all flights, however, eventually, we had to return to solid ground. And with that, we returned to Reykjavik to warm up at the Sky Lagoon, another natural spring, but this one is filled with hot geothermal water, nestled on the edge of Reykjavik. The warm, steamy waters of the lagoon shimmer under the low-hanging Arctic sun, casting an ethereal glow across the landscape. As you step into the pool, the cool wind whispers over your skin, but the water's soothing warmth cradles you, a perfect contrast against the rugged Icelandic terrain that stretches out to meet the horizon. The Sky Lagoon is a place where nature, luxury, and tranquility converge in perfect harmony, and in my opinion, is the perfect place to end the day. But even after the sun goes down in Iceland, the sky is still pretty magical.
Ladies and gentlemen, very good morning from the flight deck. Your captain speaking. I'd like to welcome you on board United Flight 139, service now to Newark, New Jersey. We'll be pushing back here very shortly. Once renewed today, 5 hours and 32 minutes. Should have a nice view of Greenland along the way. Mostly smooth today. A little chance of some light turbulence about 2 hours into the flight, but that shouldn't last very long. On arrival into Newark, clear skies, temperature of 27 degrees centigrade, which is 80 degrees Fahrenheit. If there's anything we can do to make your flight more enjoyable today, please don't hesitate to ask. From all of us at United, welcome on board. Enjoy your flight.
After landing, I had just enough time to change clothes in one of our secret bag rooms before boarding my flight to Minneapolis. I heard a fact the other day that only 60 to 70% of people alive today have ever been in an airplane, and that in the history of the world, only 1% of the population has ever been on an airplane. So, to see places like Iceland and Greenland, and the world really, as part of a career is something I'll be forever grateful to do. I'm also grateful for the people who have mentored me along the way. Not just fellow YouTubers who have encouraged me to explore and helped me discover places I wouldn't have otherwise known about, but also those who took a chance on me when I was a young aviator. So, before we get to the bloopers today, I want to take a chance to honor a man who was a mentor to me when I was in college and really throughout my entire aviation career, Neil Meyer. We met at a restaurant when I was in college. I was a newly certified commercial pilot. He was a corporate pilot, and we developed a friendship, and after a few months, he asked me if I wanted to sit right seat in the Cessna Citation that he flew for a company. I said yes, of course, and throughout my college career, I sat for nearly 200 hours in the right seat of that Cessna Citation, which is a corporate jet. And he mentored me. He helped me decide, do I want to be an airline pilot? Do I want to be a corporate pilot? Do I want to be a cargo pilot? I literally wouldn't be here today, literally wouldn't be making these videos if it wasn't for him. And around the time I recorded this video, I got a text from him saying that he'd been told he had a couple weeks to live. We got to chat for 10 minutes, tell each other we loved each other, and then we hung up, and that was the last time I spoke to him. Just last week, I heard from his wife that he had passed away. So, this video is in dedication to Neil, and he was a great man and a great mentor to me, and I hope that you have someone like that in your life. An organization that Neil volunteered with was called Wings of Mercy, and they provide medical flights for people who need air transportation for illnesses, sicknesses, and it's just pilots volunteering their time and flying people around the country who need to be flown places for medical procedures. Neil volunteered for that organization, and if you get anything from these videos, if you'd consider donating to them, all their flights are voluntary, and the expenses are covered by the organization. So it would help some family if you wanted to donate $3, $5. You know, if everyone that watched this video donated a couple dollars, it would probably make a big impact. Donate it in memory of Neil Meyer. Thank you for watching.
On this 3-day trip, I'm going to show you how I plan my layovers, who I'm watching on YouTube these days, and we're going snorkeling in between 2 continents. I lost my... Wait.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm doing a movie yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. You want to be in it?
What's up?
You're the star now. The warm, steamy waters of the lagoon shimmer under a low-hanging Arctic sun, casting an ethereal... How do you pronounce that?
Ethereal.
Ethereal. The warm, steamy waters of the lagoon shimmer under the low-hanging Arctic sun, casting an ethereal glow across the landscape.